use of proceeds from any carbon credit issuance is quite a controversial subject. When Botswana sells diamonds, nobody tells them how to spend their money. Diamonds are carbon. It's just another form of carbon. When we sell our oil, nobody tells us how to spend the money from our oil. But for some reason, when developing nations sell forest carbon credits, there's this perception that the world has to impose some kind of scale of how you use that money. In some way, we're in a system where, for the moment, we have democratic carbon credits and non-democratic carbon credits. A democratic carbon credit is in a developed nation where somebody's going to plant trees. They're going to make money off planting the trees and selling the carbon that is generated. And because they're living in a system with strong institutions and minimal corruption, hopefully, nobody particularly minds how they spend their money. When we apply that same logic to developing nations and RED+, it seems that the world just doesn't have the confidence in our institutions, in our Ministry of Finance, in our Treasury, in our anti-corruption systems. And thereby, there is this desire to impose very strict rules about where that money will flow to. Gabon has a plan. Indicatively, and this has to be confirmed in our finance law on an annual basis, but indicatively, we will reinvest 10% of any revenues back into managing the forest, thereby creating more carbon credits into the future. So in the governance of the forest and the protected areas, we will put 15% of the revenues specifically into rural development. 13% of the Gabonese people live in rural areas, so we're going to make sure that they get their fair share. Those people that live in the rainforest or next to the rainforest will get their fair share of these carbon revenues, and we will use those 15% to raise living standards in rural areas, education, healthcare, logistics, and so on. We're then going to put 25% of our revenues into the Gabonese Sovereign Fund, which is the fund for future generations. The Sovereign Fund invests in particularly in sustainable development investments, and so we're investing in future generations. We're going to put 25% into servicing our debt. Like many developing nations, we spend a lot of our annual budget just paying interest payments on our debt. And so by reducing that, we can increase the amount of money the government can spend on people around Gabon. So all the Gabonese people will share in the revenues from carbon credits. And we will probably, this isn't a final decision yet, we'll probably put 25% of the money into the national budget, the annual budget, earmarked for health, education, and climate resilient infrastructure.